What's up, everybody? It is good to get back in the studio today. We're going to be checking out the update to the TOYBOX NANO PACK library within the REAKTOR environment. I'm just going to jump into Pro Tools here. I've got a instrument channel loaded up and already set to record enable so that it is receiving my MIDI signal there. And I'm going to go ahead and open up a new instance of REAKTOR, and I'm just going to choose the patch option here, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove these sort of default things that come up here. We're going to start by focusing in on how to build a simple mono synth within the NANO PACK library here. So I'm just going to start by pulling in a MIDI in module here so that I can start getting signal from my MIDI controller. Great. And then I'm going to start pulling in the oscillators, which I'm going to use the wavetable oscillator to start. And I'm also going to pull in one more oscillator, and that is going to be the phase distortion oscillator. There we go. And then I'm also going to go ahead and pull in an envelope. And I'm going to duplicate that because I know I'm going to need it for controlling the volume or controlling the output of these oscillators. And what do I mean by volume? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to pull in a meter here. And I'm going to show you before we even listen to anything, both of these oscillators are peaking at 0, right? So eventually we're going to need to sum these things together into a mixer, which I'll pull in here right now. But as we do that, right, we just got to be very careful not to overload our DAW, not to overload our converters as we do this, not to overload our eardrums. We have to protect all of our equipment and ourselves as we're doing this, so just be very careful. And we're going to start by pulling in a mixer. We're going to start summing everything together, so kind of working from the output backwards, so to speak. So I'll go ahead and patch in the meter here so we can keep an eye on what our levels look like, and then I'll go ahead and patch this into the output as well. There we go. Now I'm going to pull down everything, and I pretty much know that this is going to need to be turned down, most likely. So I'm going to start with a level of 10, and you'll see why in a second, but we'll start there and we'll see how we go. All right. So next, I'm going to go ahead and pull in a filter, which I know the filters we're going to need are going to be a ladder filter, and also I'm going to go ahead and go with the Salin key filter. There we go. So we have those pulled in here, and I'm going to use the ladder filter here for the wavetable and a Salin key filter, which is kind of like a Korg filter for the phase distortion oscillator. There we go. Now, before we go into the mixer, we actually need a VCA so that these envelopes can control the level of these things dynamically as I hit the keyboard. So what we're going to do is pull in a Nano VCA, and you can see it's actually got a tri VCA, which we're just going to use to patch into the mixer, just like that. And so now these envelopes can go ahead and control the level of the VCA. So I'll just color these blue to indicate that these are control signals, and we'll push these into the mod inputs of the VCA. And then we'll go ahead and patch together from the gate output of the MIDI in module. We'll patch these into the gate input of the envelopes so that these can start controlling the VCA. There we go. So we see the envelopes lighting up there, LED indicators. They're kind of hidden by the wires. We can hide the wires there. There we go. You can see the lights. And then we also see these little knobs flickering there with the levels. So that's giving us what we want. And before we patch any oscillators into the VCA here, I'm also just going to make sure that I pull in a really cool sort of it can be used as control. It can also be used as just, you know, modulation, you know, for any sort of control that you might want to do. So if we, for example, patch this this LFO into the filter cutoff, then this can start modulating the speed of the filter cutoff or not. So we'll color those signals blue again because they're control signals. And we'll go ahead and remove that for now, but I just want to have that on deck. So that is a LFO that we're going to use for that. And so now let's go ahead and patch in finally the golden moment here. Let's see if everything works. Let's go ahead and patch in the filters into the VCA and start hearing some sound. Fantastic, but everything is playing at one note. Why is that happening? Because we just need to patch in the pitch cables, right? So you could obviously do this from the very beginning, but I sometimes work forward, sometimes work backwards, whatever way you work. You guys drop a comment down below. Let us know how you like to build mono modular synthesizers. But here we go. Now we have the patch cables for pitch going into the pitch inputs of the oscillators, and now that is responding to the pitch output of my MIDI in module. So everything is going according to the plan. And you can see that my levels are already in a pretty good spot. They're not peaking more than 14, negative 14, you know, in the range of negative 14, negative 19. So we can start sort of changing the sound and mangling it. We can start using these LFOs to really just, you know, start mangling the sound, making it sound all crazy. Because these are basically control signals where you can control the speed of these LFOs with this particular knob. And if you were to actually push in a control signal into these ports here, then this will apply that modulation to that adjacent control. So another really cool thing that you can actually pull into here is called a nano fader, which is just, it gives you a control fader so that you can then take this, okay, and route this control fader into the into that port, right? And then now you have control of that speed, of the speed of this based on this fader, right? So now I can take this and control this with that fader. So really, really cool stuff. Another thing I really want to show you really quickly is the just, you know, the update to TOYBOX NANO PACK. The version 3 update includes this really awesome update to the snapshot module, which allows just really simple control of the entire synth via snapshots, which are basically, you know, like you know, they're presets, they're snapshots of the sound that you have. And so the really cool thing about this is you pull this in, and it immediately, when you start clicking on these buttons, you can see that it'll change the numbers of all these NANO PACK blocks to the corresponding number that you click on. So I would say, as you do this, if you've got your levels set on your mixer to an optimal volume, you know, you start clicking on this, just be very careful. And what I would say is use a trick here. You can kind of leave your tooltips on here, the info, you know, show info hints here, and then hover on these things and it'll tell you all this. But if you just right click on this and then drag to duplicate all of this down to all of these, then that'll just go ahead and make sure that you've got your nice optimal mixer volume set on every single snapshot right out of the gate. And then you can start making changes to each of the snapshots. So say if we jump into number 2 here, and make a change. And so that's a really, really cool, new update to the Snapshots module, is it just, opens up capability to control the sounds of all of these and then just starts, morphing between them. I really like this speed feature where you can sort of slow down the morph between one snapshot to the other. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to get lost in this stuff and have a lot of fun. And so really, kudos to the team at TOYBOX. I really, really like the update to the NANO PACK snapshot module, and just the library in general is just top-notch sounds and capabilities built into this. So awesome stuff, and can't wait to dig into it even more to use it for upcoming compositions and future videos and things like that. Until next time.